welcome to everybody. Lorenzo, some of you know me already. For those of you who don't know me, I work for IDC manufacturing sites, of course, and I lead the Smart Manufacturing Research Program. I'm very happy to have on stage with me two fantastic people from a fantastic company, which is VersaBox. And with me, we have Jakub Michalski, who's really the founder of the company and really the mind behind the whole value proposition and the person who's driving the product development. And we also have Borys Stokalski, who's, as he defines, a digital transformation veteran. He's an entrepreneur with 30 years expertise in the technology business, really across different areas. He's really a renaissance man. And now really helps the company as his marketing officer, chief marketing officer. So that leads me to a very good point to start talking to Borys, asking how really your company, VersaBox, defines smart logistics as one of the enablers of broader digital factory vision, and why do you think this area is important?
Thank you for the question. Hello, everybody. I'm glad that you attended our session. This is a very good question that we had to first ask ourselves, because as you said, we are really coming from this area of smart robotics, of building autonomous machines, smart machines, robots. And the question is really, are we in business of selling robots? And obviously this question implies that we ask ourselves, what really do our customers need, and what really drives them today, and what will drive them in the years to come. And I think in a short perspective, you can always give this kind of point answers that generate point solution and point interest in point solutions. So, well, we have certain problems. Intralogistics is basically a lifeblood of any kind of operation, be it manufacturing or warehousing. It has to be delivered well. It has to be very reliable. It has to be very cost effective. It's not usually very well automated, although machines are present in this area. Some say over 50% of what we do on shop floor operations has something to do with intralogistics. So any kind of issues that trouble this area, like what you have mentioned in opening sessions, things like aging workforce, for example, and that generated workforce deficits for the low quality jobs. Well, it's obviously reflected at once in more operational problems. Smart machines are trying to solve these kind of problems just like any other machines. But I think that what's much more interesting is that it's very well amplified on this conference. Is this changing context for intralogistics. It's not just some mundane area where you need, to shuffle pallets or tug some kind of forklifts or run static conveyors. Because it's troubled by different kind of change factors. Like we see today that manufacturing has to cope generally with hyper competition, with the fact that demand is becoming very fluid, that the customer sentiments can change from really week to week, and it impacts the demand for new products, and it impacts entire value chains. So we see that there are some factors that are new, that are coming from really the essence of the business world, which is this customer relationship that are being transformed by digital technology, which again generates some need for more flexible processes, because if this is happening at the source, then we really need to do something about operations which have for decades been building for serving mass demand, high volume production of not so much configurable products. And this is obviously something that you also see or signify as an important change in the environment of manufacturing ecosystem. Well, there's this next thing, that obviously the environment is becoming more and more complex, actually. So we all see these concept visualization of factory of the future, which is kind of homogeneous, which is kind of very clean, no people, everything seems to be produced by the same manufacturer almost, but this is not the reality that we are facing today in a manufacturing environment. It's an ecosystem, it's a full of people, it's a full of different kind of solutions that have to coexist with one another. So we believe that we see today that the entire manufacturing ecosystem has to balance the traditional point of view of what's important, that efficiency is important, reliability is important, with these new things like flexibility. And obviously the concepts like Industry 4.0 enable us to think strategically. They are enabling us to build some kind of new vision that, yes, they are these smart machines that add to the capacity to automate some kind of repeatable work. They add this kind of autonomy, agency, that we do not have to tweak or manage every detail of the work of this kind of machine with our own hands or with our own minds, because these machines can take care of themselves. But machines are not enough, really, because it's raising complexity of the system that requires more and more and more attention and care from the people who manage technology. So we need to be able kind of to scale up our way how we manage technology. So we need to be able to turn these smart machines into smart systems, so that they can enable processes that basically enable us to build the new kind of operations. The problem, obviously, is that we are usually not in a very comfortable situation when there is this green field situation, when we can think everything from the scratch. In most cases, we have situations where actually there is a working factory, and we are looking for a leverage. We are looking for this entry point which can be used as a door opener to this vision of digital factory. And in other industries, usually this has been either something that has been related to digitization of value proposition. Second thing is the data monetization. And third thing is this idea of agile operations that can be really reshuffled to support different kind of needs, to be changed quite efficiently and quite quickly. So we think that really, if we look at the intralogistics, you cannot have a smart factory, you cannot have a digital factory, you cannot have this vision realized if you really don't care about your intralogistics being smart, so being, of course, efficient, reliable, but also flexible and data-driven. So basically, this is how we think of it. Now, my question is, I mean, what do you see as industry analysts? Is this something that resonates with how your customers in the manufacturing world think?
Yes, I mean, we have a ton of data about that, but I think the most important takeaway that we constantly gather in our research is that, especially in this period, it was important before, a company didn't realize this in this way, but operations do matter. We have this consistent research streams that show that companies who are a better operational performance, they were much better able to cope with the struggles of this period. They were less impacted, they could take faster decisions, they faced a lot less uncertainty, and they were better off really dramatically. It's really strong correlation between these two elements. And the thing that is very important, intralogistics is at the end at the core, at the heart of all the execution processes. So, I mean, I cannot state as much as really how this is important, and really important. But I would also like to see what are sort of the initiatives that the people in the panel are looking at when it comes to intralogistics. And I think that if we move away from what that cast about, we don't have a significant improvement plans. Most of the people are sort of converging toward the concept of replacing the ineffective legacy system with more flexible and automated solution. And I think that's quite a good place to be. But maybe, Boris, do you have any comment on this strategy? And maybe there's something that you see a company can do in this way, or even more?
Well, I think obviously it's usually that means that somebody has understand why the legacy is not enough for the future, and I mean in this sense, subscribing to this strategy means that somebody has also done his homework. I mean, assessing the viability of the existing solutions for the future operations. But I think we all need to remember two things. One is that really machines are not making business. People are doing business through processes, through using the assets to their best benefit. So always the process trumps technology. Yes, and the model trumps technology. And we will be talking about it maybe a little bit later. The second thing is that I think also is important is that we need some ways to experiment. If our approach is to try what the new capabilities of new technologies can help us do, then we should be able to experiment before deploying it on a large scale, because that means that we are not thinking top-down, so that we don't have a clear vision of new KPIs that we want to achieve, and we maybe not have so much clear vision of the scaled-up process where we would like to these new technology innovations to apply. So if we don't have that, we need to experiment, and for that we need some kind of simulation-like capabilities. And I would say even if we do have that, we actually need some kind of data-driven approach to be sure that what we have invented is really is something that will work. That's my take on it.
And also, if you look at the survey results, most of the people in this room, they are looking at POC and vendor testing and move very cautiously with rollouts, which is a perfectly fine strategy. Nobody uses spreadsheet or system to model the operational KPIs. There's somebody who's more into digital simulation. But all in all, do you have like some practical examples on which you can help companies speeding up this process? Because moving cautiously with rollout, it's long, it takes time, it takes cost, and probably prevents a company to realize the value in the right time frame. So do you have like some practical example of how you manage to deploy this solution in a fast way?
Well, I think we do. What you usually cannot simulate is the final effect of what will happen in the interaction between people, other tools in your even with some very broad and very expensive and very deep simulation tools. There are some things that you will need to see for yourself to actually believe that you are taking reasonable risks, allowing autonomous system to work in your the shop floor. But for trying different scenarios of how your autonomous system will cope, will, for example, maybe better than your existing intralogistic solutions, like is it reasonable to replace your logistic trains with something different, with autonomous solution? Well, it requires some kind of experimentation, really, because probably if you just replicate, you won't arrive at satisfactory results. And we will be talking about that a little bit. So we always say, redesign, do not replicate. And if you are redesigning, try to use tools that are very quick in achieving the results. And we have this component that is called Virtual Factory in our portfolio that actually enables you to build very quickly a couple of scenarios of using AMRs in your logistic process, so that you can see where you can run into trouble before deploying them even on POC in a production environment, which might be disrupting for some organizations.
Yeah, I will see that we are coming to an end. Maybe if you, Kuba, you have some final remarks, and Boris for the audience as we wrapping this up.
We mentioned here about the POC of such system in real production and so on. Okay, I think that this stage is already finished. Okay, that now more and more customers already knows that such autonomous system could give them some benefits, allows them to improve the processes, increase the efficiency and so on and so forth. Okay, And now they start to think about the whole systems, okay? The full fleet of robots implemented within the process. And in my opinion, after, based on experience that we already have with some first proof of concept that has been done in different plants, okay? You can implement 1 or 2 robots, okay? But still, these robots will be operating between the humans, between the old system, for example, forklifts, logistics trains, and so on, and you will never be able to get real information how the final fully implemented multi-robotic system will operate. You know, robots always better cooperates with other robots than with humans or some other, for example, forklifts or logistic trains, okay? And you have to take this into consideration. And I think that this is the most important part if you are thinking about the deployment of such system. Try to recognize these difficulties at first, prepare for this, okay? As well as simulate as much as you can before, okay? Based on different tools and so on, okay? We have in VersaBox this virtual factory block that's allowed us to simulate the processes. Of course, this is still the simulation, that is a simplification of the real world, but then you will be still closer to the final results and think from the beginning about the final results instead of the results of the proof of concept, because the proof of concept, it will be always far away from the real system, because as I said, the final solution is the whole fleet of the robots that will cover all of these processes that you see on the slide.
Thank you. That's really, really cool. And actually, I think the biggest takeaway, besides the technicalities of the solution, which I encourage people really to explore further and visiting the booth of VersaBox, is that this project that seems daunting and complex when you start actually can be done, and there are technologies and methodologies that can help you. Companies delivering that in a much more secure, faster, and viable way. So sometimes people are not just aware of the possibilities that are available on the market. And it doesn't say. I just ask Borys to say the final conclusion, and then encourage everybody to move back to the stage. We have a lot of advisory board members presenting, so that's a really interesting session for our to attend. But Borys.
Please think that this is no other choice. These processes will be automatized and will be automatized by autonomous robots. Definitely, everybody knows about it. And this is the question when you start to think about it and how and when you will get the first profits from this automatization.
I think we can invite everybody to simply try it with us. I mean, if you have some idea of a high opportunity process, contact us through our digital cafe. There is a couple of contact points depending on what country you are representing. You can contact our business representatives, and we can start basically a small project of simulating AMR-based intralogistics systems for some of your operations which you think are high opportunity. So this is something we could do for you. Please do contact us. Please do contact our digital cafe. And 2:20 we'll be running a small presentation of Digital Factory, so you can see for yourself that we are really talking about powerful but very, very simple tools.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, and let's move back to the main stage. Thank you, Borys and Kuba. Fantastic.